They're doing what? Oh, they are? Oh. I get that. Yeah, with the hey, am I muted when music plays or no? How do I turn this shit off? All right, T minus 10 seconds. Or just right now. What's up, everybody? This is Omar Serrano with the Tilted Lawyer podcast for another salacious episode of Family Law After Dark. I'm properly lubricated. I have a new mechanism of lubrication this morning. We're going with the Redbreast 12. It's a brand new. Melissa's looking at me like, what the fuck are you talking? We're talking about whiskey. And I'm having some Redbreast 12 with Dominic. I'm having mine neat in my aluminum cup. Dominic is adulterated his with some Diet Coke, but to each their own. We are here to talk about some family law cases, joined by Melissa DeCastro, who is having a day. She's got a lot of things on her mind, such as life. Erica Pauley says, it's not even noon. It's noon in 20 minutes. Also, where my brother is right now, it's like 5:40 in the afternoon.
Wait. Yes.
Yep. He's over there having the time of his life over in Spain. And so we're having a drink in honor of him. Cheers to that. I offered Melissa some whiskey, but she says, nah, she's watching her figure too. She's trying to get down to 142. Wink says it's over. All right, folks. So this is Family Law After Dark. These are the real conversations that I have with my clients every day when they come seeking whether or not they should file for stuff: child custody, child visitation, child support, flat out divorce. And we have these conversations before we ever get to the legal aspects of it. I always have these kinds of conversations with my clients. They're usually about an hour long. I usually have an hour-long consults. My consults usually last on average between an hour and about an hour or two. So when I do this show was contemplated with that in mind.
Yes.
Bringing you into the family law attorney's office, the real life conversations that I have with these folks, and it gets nutty. And so you're going to learn some things. You're going to laugh. You're going to cry. You might cry. You might be angered. You might be angered to tears. But either way, you're going to have a good time. So you're going to want to stick around. We got a wonderful show planned for you today. Let's get started.
Whatever you might be going through and wherever you might be, this is Omar Serrano with the Tilted Lawyer podcast. I'm here to take your mind off of things. Yes, I'm an attorney. No, I'm not giving you legal advice. We're going to sit and talk like people, as these are the candid thoughts of one practicing attorney, and it's after hours. So have a seat. Feel free to have a drink and join me. Let's get started.
All right. What's up, Melissa, as you're texting in the middle of the show?
My job.
Well,
Never
breathing in the middle of the
ends.
mic. Oh, is there something I need to be alarmed about, or
No, but generally, if I could say it that way, Fridays and Mondays are the days where we generally get the most calls for potential new clients. And I have my phone routed for Ring Central, so I get the text messages from the answering service.
Melissa is my paralegal extraordinaire. She's been taking care of this office for the last 5 years, and she's going to be moving on to greener pastures. And so we're going to be bidding her adieu. However, she's going to continue to be a guest on our podcast. That's never going to end. Nope. She's always going to be a flat guest. We're going to be bringing back an oldie but a goodie, the very famous Jocelyn, who in the very infancy of the Tilted Lawyer podcast used to be a regular guest when she was employed by me previously. She's going to be employed by me again, taking Melissa's spot, but make no mistake about it, Nicole Kessinger ain't going nowhere. She's going to continue to be a part of this show indefinitely. So with that said, let's get to some of these cases. All right. So this person wanted to know if they are the asshole for letting their husband know that they want a divorce by sending them a thread on a website that he used to ignore her. I don't know what she means by that, but we're going to get to the bottom of it. So she starts off, she posts this, I guess, on some website. I have no idea what she's talking about, but this is what she says to her husband. Hi, Stefan. Maybe you will finally listen. And if you're wondering if you can just speed home and stop me from doing this and leaving, it's too late. I'm sending you this after I've already loaded everything in the car and left. Don't worry. I spoke with the landlords and took my name off the lease. I'll set up a direct deposit for the next month's rent, and that you're on your own, buddy. Wow. Buddy in quotation marks. I should be sharing my screen with y'all, huh? Let me do that so y'all can read along. I don't know what she did. Let's find out.
I am very intrigued to know what you did for her to take those measures.
He's been ignoring her. So I wonder if this is something that he did that is grounds for a divorce, or maybe he just doesn't get me anymore. He just doesn't make me happy.
Okay, her initial question was, am I the asshole because I told him through this method?
Yes.
Exactly.
She says, I guess you're wondering why. I'm guessing you'll act like you were completely blindsided, right?
Like all men.
Because what do you mean by that? What the hell?
They don't like the same way. Every single man, not only in this office, but no, not all. Not every single man, but the vast majority of them, not only in this office, but out in my personal life, they always say the same thing.
Which is?
I never saw it coming.
Oh, that's bullshit. We always see it coming. I see everything, fucker.
Okay, 90% of the time, they don't say that. But anyway, let's go on.
Okay. I don't see everything. Maybe sometimes I get where you're coming from. I guess I'm just talking shit. I guess you're wondering why I act like you're blindsided, right? Because you've done absolutely nothing wrong. The passive aggressiveness in this post, Jesus. By the way, there's some of our listeners that don't like when I say Jesus and use the Lord's name in vain. I'll try my best to stop.
You're not using it in vain.
There was somebody that commented that was offended by my use of it, so I'll try to refrain.
Okay.
I respect everybody's proclivities for the most part. Within reason. So because you've done, okay, and you're a great husband and father to be, aren't you? Well, buddy, I wonder if he calls her buddy all the time. Maybe that's why she's doing that.
Yes.
Well, buddy, let me break it down for you in a language you understand. I, 29 female, have been married to my husband, who is 35 for 5 years. Oh, this is a little girl. This little girl.
So she is a little girl, but I'm an old lady?
Yes. You were
Piece
expired.
of crap.
She is not. She's got a few more months.
Excuse me? You said the expiration date was 27. So she's expired also as me.
No. For women, the expiration date is 30. For men, the expiration date is never.
Keep thinking that way.
I'm kidding. I'm well past my expiration date. I've been for a long
Expiration date for
time.
men is when they start losing their hair.
Well, if that's the case, I'm in good company there. I think of all the things I'm going to lose, it ain't going to be that. It's not going to be the hair.
Actually, yeah, you're right.
I got good genes when it comes to that.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
My brother, unfortunately, does not. His forehead is perennially and exponentially receding and getting larger. He's doing this. It's doing this thing to the point. It's like, hey, Chris, you're going to have to at some point just oh, you don't know him like I do. His forehead is bigger than ever. And so there's no, in my family, it's, you get one or the other. You either get a full head of hair for life or a receding hairline for life.
There's no in between.
There's not a lot of in between. I was one of the fortunates. Where am I? Okay,
she's explaining to him. I, 29, married to my husband, 35.
So married for 5 years. We've been together for nearly 10 on paper. So she's been with this guy since 19. And what I always tell you about people that try to have like a permanent relationship that started in their teens.
19, and that means he was 25.
24. Nah, 24, 25, it don't matter.
Uh-huh.
So on paper, everything seemed fine. But in reality, our marriage has been anything but. I've reached my breaking point, and I need to know if I'm the one in the wrong here. From the beginning, my mother-in-law has been a nightmare. She made everything about her from day one. That's a big red flag. Okay, it is I'm of the firm opinion of this. It is the job of both parties, man and woman, to keep the in-laws out of marital affairs.
Away. Not away, but outside of that.
Boundaries. You got to establish boundaries.
Yes.
Like if your mom is like over there trying to like lecture your husband about how he's making the breadcrumbs,
No.
you need to tell her to back off, and in private and in a way that's not disruptive. That's your duty as a wife. Same thing goes for the man. If his mother-in-law is telling her how to fold the clothes, like just leave her alone, let her do it. She does it her way. It's none of your business how I like it.
You're not supposed to do it in private. You're supposed to do it at the spot if they are disrespectful.
If it's disrespectful in
Exactly.
public, then you correct it in public. But if it could be avoided, then you avoid it.
Then you avoid it.
But it's the
Exactly.
responsibility of both parties to
Yes.
keep the in-laws within boundaries. That's all.
Absolutely is.
So at our wedding, she wore white. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, she's an asshole.
Why is that such a big deal to girls?
Keep
man?
going.
But could I just know, like, why does it matter?
White is for the bride. That's it.
No,
That's
it
pretty much
isn't.
it.
White is a universal color.
In a wedding, white is for the bride. That's it. We're talking about wedding. She mentioned wedding.
You shouldn't be that bothered by it, honestly.
Okay, she said she wore white. What else?
She constantly criticizes me
Yeah, she's a bitch.
from my cooking to my appearance.
Yeah, she's an asshole.
I'll never forget the time she called me fat at a family gathering. Okay.
Bitch out of your life.
I'll just tell you this. Let me just tell you this. If I were to say that about my wife at the family table in front of my mom would slap me in the face. You little shit. How? Did you ever talk like that about your wife? That's how most mothers would react.
I know she would do that.
My mom's like that, you know. She's a fiery one. My mom would never criticize my wife's looks for any reason. Not even her cooking. But she understands boundaries.
Have you seen remember you were talking to me about the trend where you're faking that you're cheating on your wife and then okay, there's one that's exactly like that one, but it's like pretending I hit my girlfriend or my partner in front of my mom.
Oh, I've seen those.
Oh, the reactions are amazing.
Oh, my mom would jump on me just like that. What in the hell? Ha! With a knife, start stabbing.
And there's another one about dads. I would love to see your reaction to that, where the kid
Disrespect mom, calls her a bitch in front of dad.
something, yeah, the child.
And then the dad
child.
gets up. I was kidding. It was a prank.
I love
Those reactions are pretty much how that would go. Oh, just the other day, man. My daughter, what did she say to my wife? She called her a shitbag. It's like, don't you ever.
That's your fault.
It is my fault. I take full responsibility. My daughters are of the practice right now for calling each other shitbag. It's just a thing that they do.
Oh, because they hear it.
Yeah, but they're learning how to banter back and forth with dad in the context. Sometimes my wife takes strays. It happens. So I have to be on guard with that. I can't let them disrespect the wife.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, if I hear that coming on, it's the man's duty to stand up and check that. Even if it's my fault, you got to correct it. I take responsibility for using that language.
Yeah, but you're not using it to your wife. They heard you use the word and they thought it was a good context.
I told what did I say? I told Oli something about just offhand. I was like, Oli, stop being a dick. Just, I don't know where it came out. And then Abby's like, yeah, Oli, don't be a dick.
And you're like, eh. You see why I can't be a mom? If one of my children says that or uses the words I use, I'm gonna laugh and I'm gonna have to be like.
In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with your children using that language because it allows them to understand cultural appropriateness, appropriate use of language in certain situations. It's good for their brain complexities as it comes to learning how to be civil, learning context and those kinds of things.
I agree that, but they can't be. That's the thing.
But they can't be outward. They have to have the
Exactly.
ability to discern if they don't have. Yeah, which my daughters, both of them have, and one of them is autistic. It's wonderful. Gosh, my daughter is such a story. Before I start talking about my kids, all right. So she criticizes her
Everything.
cooking appearance. I'll never forget. She called me fat. What did my husband do? Nothing. Not a single word to defend me. Let me ask you, Melissa, if your husband's mom say, "Hey, you got a little bit of right there. What's that? What's all this? What's all this?" And she starts pinching on your love handles, and your husband just sat there silent and laughed, what would you do?
I would look at him like this. And it's just like the meme that's saying, like, when your husband says something wrong and you're just staring at him, waiting for him to say the right answer. That would literally be me. Like,
Admittedly, the scenario that I described is kind of funny. It's kind of funny. It's like almost off-putting in how funny it is. What if you just said, "Hey, you know what? You don't need to be looking like that. You're about 15 pounds too heavy for my son. You need to start losing some weight, taking care of yourself. Take a walk around the block. Start doing some squats. Start doing some frog dips. But this is unacceptable." Now, that's a whole. Now, if he said all of that and then your husband was like, "Yeah, she's got a point," what would you do to him?
I don't want to say it. People would think so low of me.
They would not. I'm sure they would relate. What would you do?
I can't say it.
My God.
I can't say it.
Well, chop off his penis with a cheese grater is what she wants to say, but she won't say it because she's a lady.
I can't say it. I can't say it. I am so bad and so snarky, and I get back to people so bad when I want to. So I don't want to do that.
She continues, "It didn't stop there. She has accidentally destroyed my belongings, including my grandmother's necklace, which she threw out because it looked like cheap costume jewelry." Yeah, now she's out of control. Now I'm starting to be on her side. I mean, I was on her side to begin with, but now this is getting
worse.
Egregious. She's gone out of her way to make me feel small and unwelcome in my own home. But every time.
Why is she coming to your house?
I try to talk to my husband about it. He'd brush it off, saying I was overreacting.
Yes.
Or being too emotional.
Because the vast majority of men do that with their moms. And
could I just say this? This is a big red flag for men. Mama's boys.
For men or for women?
For men. I'm only speaking for men. Here's what happens sometimes with men. Sometimes with men when they don't have a positive male role model in their life. And they're only raised by their mom. And mom is like Miss Independent Woman in all of this. And she's raising them and talking shit about the dad. They tend to put women on a pedestal, specifically mom on a pedestal. And they have no ability to create boundaries the way that normal men would.
Okay, tell me what didn't happen to you.
Well, because as absent as my dad was, I still had male role models in my life. I had my wrestling coach, I had my football coach, I had all these different people in my life. And my dad, I still went over to his house every now and then. And my mom didn't talk shit about him every chance she got.
Oh, you're talking absolute absent fathers.
I'm talking about a situation where a mom alienates her child from dad, constantly railroads on him, constantly talks shit about him. And then dad is absent and unable to defend himself,
to do anything,
so that he gets this warped sense of world that my mom is here and dad is there and everybody else is in between. That's how you create mama's boys. It's one of the ways of the many ways. And in this situation, you create a situation where mom could do all of these things because nobody was there to check her before, and he has no ability to know right from wrong as far as how mom interacts with family or his wife. And now he's failing to come to his wife's defense in very obvious situations. Mind you, this is not his perspective. This is her perspective.
Hers.
Yeah. So that's my opinion on it. That's how it's the problem with mama's boys. And how do you get a mama's? Look, I would argue that at one point I was a mama's boy, but in a very different degree. What was taught to me and ingrained to me by my grandmother, by my mom, by my uncles, by my wrestling coach, by my football coach, by my baseball coaches, by all of the men in my life, the village that created me was protect women at all costs. There are some boys that don't grow up with that perspective and fail to recognize when it's time to act. It's a parenting issue at its core. And it's a red flag if you date a man that can't recognize boundaries. And so the question is, should I divorce this guy? She's 29. He's 35. He's not going to get any better. He's old enough to know better, and he's not going to change.
I assume there's no kids because she hasn't mentioned them.
She hasn't mentioned them. Yeah. So let me continue. Then there's my husband. Oh, she's gone out of her way to make me feel small, unwelcome in my own home. But every time I try to talk to my husband about it, he'd brush it off, saying I was overreacting or being too emotional. That's another red flag. You got to always have your wife's back, even when she's wrong.
At least in front of the other person, you do.
And it's like, look, you want to burn down this bridge? I'll burn it down with you. I got an opinion about it. I'll have her back, though. You know what I mean? And then there's my husband. He's always on Reddit, constantly giving strangers relationship advice.
Okay, that's an even bigger red flag.
Oh, which is like, my wife called me out for this when I was talking something about dates on a Family Law After Dark and like how important it is to take your wife on a date. She's like, you ain't taking me out on a date in weeks. It's like, well, shit, we just got off a vacation from Hawaii. We just went on a vacation to wherever we were, up in a wine country or whatever, but like going on a date. So we took her on a date. But I felt it. I felt convicted when she said, you're always over here talking about taking your wives on dates and we need to go on a date. It's like, let's go on a date.
I'm so sorry. I have her back on this. She's right.
I'm not saying she's wrong. I'm saying if I'm going to say it, then if I'm going to preach it, I should act on it. And so
this guy's giving not legal relationship advice on Reddit.
I guess he is. He spends more time on rating women's boobs on Reddit than talking to me.
Excuse me?
That's what she said.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Is rate my boobs a thing?
I just found out. That's why I said, like, what?
When did you find out?
Now.
Oh. All right. And just so you know, the last pair he rated weren't a 4 out of 10. They were a 10 out of 10.
So she's
very
nice. She's checking the scores. Okay, keep going.
I don't know, man. That just seems very childish.
It actually is. At this 35 male?
Bro,
yeah.
I mean, I could tell you this. I'm 44. I could give a shit about a woman's boobs. Let alone rate. I don't give an F. I know what they look like after. I'll tell you what, my wife has sacrificed her entire body. For me, I have no complaints about her and all of her imperfections because she has sacrificed her body for my legacy.
And nobody's fucking perfect, actually.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
What, you think she's going to be 29 for life? Shit. That ship has sailed a long time ago, man. 20s were a long time ago. And so you live with the imperfections that you create in your partner physically. And you sacrifice that for the legacy and the castle that you build at home. That's it, man. And if he's over here rating boobs, that's just so childish for one. It's like something you do when you're 12. It's like, oh, I just discovered the internet and boobs and porn.
Something along the lines of that.
Oh, when I was 12, we didn't have the internet. We had the Victoria's Secret catalog. That's what we used to have. And you would get those because it wasn't just like you had like squiggly lines.
You get them in the mail.
They would come in the mail and they were free. And other than that, you didn't have anything. You had like a pay-per-view on cable TV, but it was the squiggly lines.
Yes. That's censored.
There was no outlets like that when I was 12 years old. And so that's what we had.
Bruce said that you want to rate feet with him.
Do I want to do what?
He said that you want to rate feet with him.
Feet.
No, man, I don't rate feet, man. I don't even look at feet. I don't look at my wife's feet. I don't look at my own feet. I don't like feet. I'm all the way out, man. Rate them yourself. That's what I have to say about that. All right, so he's rating boobs like a 12-year-old. He'll forget my birthday or anniversary, even simple things like what I'm working on or what's important to me. But he has a perfect memory for his work schedule and things that matter to him.
It's because he doesn't care about you. That's it.
Do you know about your husband's schedule? I know about my wife's schedule, even if I don't go on announcing it. Like, I'm very aware, like if, for example, school has been out because of the fires, I'm very aware, acutely aware that she's having to stay at home and like adjust her work schedule. She usually works from home to care for the children. She's probably really effing irritable. So when I get home, I don't give her shit about anything, and if she gives me shit about stuff, I give her leeway to do that because she's probably frustrated. and she is frustrated, even though I'm tired. You got to be aware of your partner's
surroundings, whereabouts, everything.
the context of their day. You know, anniversaries and birthdays. It doesn't take long to memorize a couple of dates.
You can put it in the calendar.
To be fair, my wife didn't memorize our anniversary. We have no idea when we first became boyfriend and girlfriend. No idea.
Omar, you're married. You're past that.
Well, I know, but like to this day, even back when we were dating, we had no idea when we like became an official thing. It was sometime around
Somewhere.
We don't have to know. We never knew. And so that wasn't important to us. But I do know when our wedding anniversary is. I do know when her birthday is and all the other important dates.
It's easy for me. We put wedding and dating anniversary in the same date.
I know my brother's in here watching this. Hey, Miguel, you could memorize a couple of dates, dipshit. Never fail to memorize that, and never fail to acknowledge how hard your wife is working in the kitchen for you to gain the weight that you gain. Yeah, I said it. Also, he's getting married in November. my brother's over there eating good, man. His wife is taking real good care of him. She's like cook. She's like a world class. I don't know what kind of cook she is, but to hear my brother describe it, she's like a world class cook, and he's done very well for himself in that regard. She's a good lady.
That's so nice.
Yeah. So, oh shit,
Did you close it?
I did something. All right. When we fight, he becomes incredibly hostile and always throws in a sarcastic buddy at the end. Oh, he does do that. At the end of his sentences, like,
yeah, you were right.
Don't call your wife buddy, man. That's disrespectful. Although I do call my wife wench. I'll be like,
that sounds better than the other one.
It's like, hey, listen, wench, make me a sandwich. Listen, wench. That's my word.
You know what my mom did? My mom was over at her house. Well, no, we're still living at my mom's house here. She was over for a month. And then one day I came from work and she's like, your husband wants a sandwich. And I told her like, oh, that's so nice. I want one too. And she looked at me like, excuse me? And I'm like, what? You have to make it for him? I'm like, no. Why do I have to?
Make your husband a damn sandwich. It's not that hard to make. He'll make you a sandwich. He'll make you a bruschetta. You want a bruschetta? Some nice lightly toasted bread, tomatoes, olive oil,
he didn't
basil.
ask me. She did.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
no. If he would have asked me, I would have said yes.
Yeah,
he did.
Well, I could see how off-putting that would be. He's like, look, wench, you don't tell me how to treat my husband. I get it. I understand. I'm on your team on that one. All right. So when we fight, he becomes incredibly hostile, throws in the buddy at the end of sentences, like I'm some acquaintance he can barely tolerate. He never cleans the house, the dishes, the laundry, you name it. It's all on me. It's like he thinks being an adult is optional as long as he's got his job and his Reddit account. So the final straw came a few weeks ago. Oh shit, I'm 5 months pregnant with our first child, a daughter. My mother-in-law stated making comments about how she'll have to whip the girl into shape and how she'll raise her to be tough because I'm too soft.
And yeah, run for the hills. Leave that bastard.
That would prompt me if my mother ever.
She would never.
She never would. I couldn't even imagine it. Neither would my other in-laws. Well, my only in-laws. My wife's parents.
Okay. That didn't sound good.
She just wouldn't let them say stupid shit like that. It was just, they're so not involved in our business. And that's how it should be. A marital home is sacred. You don't let the in-laws in if you want to stay married.
That's why my mom always told me this. And I stand by it. I always did. Is like, you never live with either your parents or your in-laws after you get married. That's a rule. Respected.
Oh, I told my wife, hey,
swear it by it.
Ain't nobody living in this house. And I'm not staying at your family's house. I will get a hotel. Like I'm just.
Okay, that's different.
Those are boundaries, man. It's like, oh, we're going on vacation with the family. We could all stay in the same hotel together. It's like, nope. I'll get my own room.
In the same hotel?
Because of boundaries?
The same hotel, not the same hotel room.
Well, I meant the hotel room.
Okay, yeah,
hotel is fine.
No.
Yeah. You can't stay on vacation in a hotel room with
20 people.
Get the F out. How old am I, man? So I will get my own room. I can afford it. I'll get you your room if it's necessary. I guess I'll make exceptions if there's like separate bedrooms. I guess fine. But I would not prefer that. And it's not disrespectful. It's just I got boundaries. I got my private life. Y'all keep your private life. I don't want to wake up and like walk in the kitchen and you're all out there. You know what I mean?
I don't like that either. You're right.
And it's just if you don't have to, you shouldn't, you know? All right. So when I told my husband that I didn't want his mother to have too much influence on our daughter,
Mhm.
especially with the way she treats me. He just laughed it off, saying his mother means well and that I was overthinking it. But the moment that truly broke me was when we were talking about future childcare, and my husband suggested that his mother should watch our daughter while we work. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that, especially considering how his mother treats me, and he snapped. He called me paranoid. He said I should get over it because his mother was going to be a big part of our daughter's life, whether or not I liked it, which is probably true. But in what world are you going to be able to shield your children from the in-laws? The reality of it is that you're going to have in-laws and they're going to be a part of your kid's life. Whether it's a lot or a little, they're going to be there, which is why it's so important on the part of, like I said from the very beginning, on the part of both parties to keep the in-laws at bay within respectable boundaries. Because the reality is, the real conversation is, okay, either our children are going to stay with mom, or we're going to end up paying like a $2,500 daycare bill. Which would you prefer? Now, she might have preferred the $2,500 thing. But the reality is most couples are not fortunate enough to have in-laws that are available to watch children like that.
Yeah. For example, my mom lives overseas.
Yeah. Good luck finding a babysitter, and don't ask me for shit. You can ask Raven. Maybe she'll do it, but you're going to have to pay her off. All right. So he says, he called me paranoid. I should get over it. All right. This is the same woman who believes corporal punishment is okay. Yeah. You can't put your hands on the kids. I've seen her hit my husband's nephew for the smallest things, and no one does anything about it. It's like they're all living in some kind of cult, and I'm finally waking up to the reality of what's going on. If he wouldn't stand up for me, how could I expect him to stand up for our child? I started to fear for what kind of environment our daughter would be growing up in, a place where she might be belittled or bullied by her own grandmother with a father who wouldn't do anything to stop it. Oh, and did I mention that he missed our first ultrasound? His mother needed him to help her with something urgent.
Yeah. That's going to happen all day, every day. So expect to give birth by yourself, because his bitch as mom is going to call him and he's going to answer.
All right. I'm giving this, I don't need to give her permission to do anything. I'm just saying she's not an asshole for wanting a divorce.
She's not an asshole.
But let's look at reality, because if you got an overbearing mom like that, what's going to happen when you all divorce and we need to come up with a custody and visitation plan? Do you not think that he's not going to be requesting at the very least a 50-50 custody arrangement?
Yes.
That he's going to be living close enough to where that's a feasible thing, and that in the times that he works, that your kids are not going to be raised by that lady anyway during the time that he's at work on his days. If that's her chief concern, well, look, there might not be any salvaging this marriage. Guy's 35, she's 29. She deserves a lot better than what she's getting. The reality is divorce is shitty. And in the state of California, which is, I believe, where they're at, there is going to be a visitation schedule that probably coincides with a 50-50 schedule. And it could turn really ugly. She mentioned the corporal punishment thing. I guarantee you she ends up filing some kind of petition to keep mom away from the kids because of corporal punishment. She's going to make that allegation. She's not going to be able to prove it. And when she tries to prove it and fails, it's going to cause a divide in that family that will last for generations. That's where these folks are headed. That's why family law sucks so bad. These are the divides that we deal with all the time. You don't think about this stuff, but that's where this is headed. You got a psycho mother-in-law. You think she's going away anytime soon? Shit. Even if this guy wanted to be a deadbeat dad, she would not allow him to do it. She would be the first one to hire him attorney. He's not even spending his own money on attorney fees. She is forcing him to ask for full custody. He's not going to get full custody. Maybe it's a 50-50 thing. You're going to have to prove some kind of parental neglect or failure to protect, or some kind of child abuse that you're not going to be able to prove, likely. These people are not going to go anywhere anytime soon. You're stuck with them for the entirety of your child's first 18 years. I don't know what to tell you. I wish you weren't pregnant. This would be a much easier conversation to have if you didn't have kids, but you do. You got one on the way. So just know,
You're a girl.
if you can't fix this marriage and you have to get a divorce, that's what you're facing. There's no avoiding it. And maybe it's worth it for you to go through that, but you're going to have a rough time going forward. I can't save you from that. And that's the reality of your situation. So maybe you get divorced because you deserve to have a man that's going to stand up for you and fight for you and boundaries. And that's not a mama's boy and all these other things. But it's going to come with substantial sacrifice in the fact that you're not going to have a smooth co-parenting relationship. It's going to get real ugly, and it's probably going to stay that way for at least, I don't know, maybe like the next 10 years. Imagine that. Imagine having a child and they're born and they're here and you don't want to be with the dad. Now what? Now imagine that guy is a dick. Imagine that guy is not want to pay child support. He wants 50-50 because he doesn't want to pay child support. And he thinks that's somehow going to absolve him from child support, and an overbearing mom and in-laws that hate you, that have hate you. They hate you a lot more now, but even when you were married, they were calling you fat and unequipped and all these other different things. It's
I'm just going to mention this, and I know you're going to know where I'm coming from.
What?
That woman and her son are going to make sure they get full custody of that little girl. And
well, they're going to try.
Grandma
they
is
will
going to
try.
be in his son's business forever.
In perpetuity, as they say. That is why
she's going to hate you.
You do not fall in love with mama's boys that have no ability to create and protect and force others to respect the boundaries of the marital home. If you do that, you are doomed to this. Good luck for the next 10 years, and you might as well have my card because you're going to need it probably pretty soon. So that's all I got to say about that one. And we're going to move on to the next.
Yes, please.
Any thoughts, Dominic? Dominic, are you a mama's boy?
No.
Did I offend your Shirley Temple? He's not drinking a Shirley Temple, by the way. He's drinking a whiskey with some. He's got some Diet Coke in it, but it's forgivable. By the way, this Redbreast 12 is pretty good, man. It's got a lot of vanilla notes, completely smooth, which is rare for like a 12-year whiskey, which is what it is. I was expecting much worse, but it's pretty good. For what it is, it's pretty good. All right, so this is a custody case. As Melissa is texting. Oh, what's going on? Anything, any red flags, any alarms you need to sound?
No, I'm just gonna not be able to meet Jocelyn tomorrow. She has COVID.
Jocelyn has COVID. That should be all right. All right, this person wants to know if they are the asshole for wanting full custody of their child. Oh, I will give them an honest answer. I will give them an honest answer. Let's see what we got. Let me pull this up. So I've been divorced for 10 years. We have an 11 and a 14-year-old. So
is this a man or a woman, or we don't know?
I'm assuming, well, we'll get to that. Ex-wife, this man. The ex-wife has most of the custody, full physical joints.
Legal.
I have the kids every Wednesday and every other weekend.
Okay.
Typical. That's like a standard
generally
parenting schedule in California. I am always current on child support. I have been remarried for 8 years now. I have 2 more kids with the current wife. All the kids get along well. How many cases like this have we had? A bunch.
Move forward.
You already know who I'm talking about, huh? Yeah. Here's the new situation. My ex had a stroke and crashed her car. Oh, I actually had a case. We actually had a case just like this. I don't know if you remember, but it was like 4 or 5 years ago. Let me continue. Very bad accident. The injuries can heal in time, obviously. She had a second stroke in the hospital the next day. It's been 3 weeks now. Cannot speak. Cannot use the right side of her body. Can barely use her left side. Will be moved into a long-term care facility in a month or so. They were currently living with her mother. So her mother has most likely taken guardianship over my ex. Her mother seems to want to keep the kids' schedule the same. I have been told, I have just told her my plans to have the kids full time. No reply yet. It's been 2 days. Due to all of this, Who knows how long a full recovery will be, if ever. Many stroke victims are never the same and need lifelong care their whole lives. I feel very bad for her and for the kids, but I feel I need to be the number one caretaker now. So legally, here's the situation.
To answer his question, no, he's not the asshole for that.
All right. Well, that was
a question.
Could I give my lawyer answer now?
Now you need your
okay.
Omar lawyer.
I assume it sounds like they have a final judgment on custody and visitation.
Yes.
That warrants, if we're going to change custody, a material change of circumstances in the co-parenting relationship.
We don't know if these are Montenegro orders.
Well, let's just say that it is.
Let's just assume it.
Because if it's not, it doesn't even matter. Then they're just going to do what's in the best interest of the kid, right?
Yes.
But let's just assume
it's Montenegro.
It's Montenegro. Final orders on judgment. This would be grounds for a material change of circumstances, which would then lead to a best interest of the child examination. And if she is unfortunate, she has these injuries, but if she has these injuries to the extent that she's now disabled or unable to care for herself or the children to the same level that she was before, then she shouldn't be the primary parent.
That's another thing. Are you done or is there more?
To my analysis, yes.
No. Is there more in the post?
No, that's it.
He doesn't mention her input. That means she's like severely disabled. She can't even speak or give an opinion.
Well, not necessarily. It just means that people are probably, he says that they're currently living with their mother, so her mother's most likely taking guardianship over Max. Mother seems to want to keep the kids the schedule the same. So he's dealing with grandma, basically. So he has a statutory priority over the grandparents because he's the biological dad. He's not absent. He hasn't lost the parental rights. So grandmother's wishes don't effing matter.
Hey.
I'll say it again. They don't effing matter. They just don't. If there's no reason for the grandparents to have custody, they don't get a say if biological parents are in place that are going to care for the children.
That is true.
So,
and there is in this point.
Right. So in this regard, all he has to do is show that it's in the children's best interest to reside with him. He seems to have a new wife. He seems to have a couple of other kids that he's already caring for. He seems willing and able to do it. The children are 10 and 14. The 14-year-old is going to age out pretty soon. The 7-year-old is still relatively young. So we're talking about a 7-year arrangement to help get them through junior high and high school.
Did he mention child support? I think he did.
He did. He said, what did he say about?
Regularly. I pay it regularly.
Yeah, but nobody gives a shit because it's not a support issue. So if it is the case that all of those things are true, and he can establish that it's in the best interest of the child, he's got space for them, for example. They're going to go to the same schools, or maybe they're going to go to a better school.
Maybe they live close by.
It makes sense. Then he's going to have priority over the wishes of grandparents. They might not like it, but no, I think if you think it's best for your kids, then do it. I would say this: you shouldn't, under any circumstance, shut the children out from that side of the family.
No.
You should keep the lines of communication open with grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Give them regular voluntary visitation schedules and all. Invite them over for the holidays. Don't be an asshole about it. It doesn't have to be like, no, I am the primary parent and you have no right to see the children. Don't be that guy.
That's why I was saying, don't say that it doesn't effing matter. It does matter, but in this case, dad, of course, has priority over grandparents.
It doesn't legally matter.
Legally matter.
Which is all I'm required, what I'm required to.
Okay, lawyer Omar.
Yes.
And then personal Omar.
Common sense Omar, the man Omar, says don't shut the grandparents out. Make friends with them. There's no reason to make this adversarial.
Actually, yeah, it's going to be to your benefit if you do that. It's always to your benefit if you get along with them.
I was just in court the other day, and I gave the same line to the opposing party, but because I'm a lawyer, they don't trust me. And I'm just telling them, look, we don't have to make this an adversarial thing. Let's just put these temporary orders in place because you were homeless. What are you going to do overnight with the kid? And then, she's there with like grandma and like mom and like they're trying to make this big united front. And it's just like, ego plays way too big a role in these cases sometimes. This should not be an ego thing. You're trying to raise a child. You're trying to create a stable environment void of chaos.
I get so happy every single time we have cases where parents get along. I'm like, why can't everybody?
How rare is it, man? How rare is it?
It's really rare, but when I do, I am so happy, like genuinely happy. I'm like, why can't everybody be as civil as this?
Well, it goes back to my idea of good and evil. What's my idea of good and evil?
I don't know.
everybody thinks that they're good.
That's true.
Nobody ever thinks that they're the
They're
evil
the
one.
bad guy.
They always believe that they're fighting evil and they must prevail for good to prevail. And when you have both people believing that, you're going to have battles of ego that don't benefit the child. And so nobody's actually interested in the best interest of the child. They're more typically interested in feeding ego, which is why we have these issues in these family law cases. But what should happen in this case is that they should go live with dad. And there's no reason why that should be a big deal.
And dad is not a stranger to them.
Nope. He's been every other weekend and Wednesdays for a period of time.
10 years.
Yeah. So I hope that everybody could get along. No, he's not the asshole for thinking that that might be in the children's best interest. It's worth a discussion. Just be prepared that the grandparents might not like it.
Yes.
I'll also state this. If he waits any amount of time to get it, then he's not. You're going to establish a status quo with the grandparents that he might not be able to overcome in subsequent litigation. And that's what I will say to him.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Let's move on to another case. Miguel says he mentioned that he have them visit as much as he can. Oh, thank you for that insight, Miguel. I have not been keeping up with the comments. And Miguel's saying all kinds of stuff. My brother.
Wait. You have how many siblings?
Shit, I don't know. I got
Shit, I don't know.
2 brothers, 3 sisters.
And then out of those, I think you and just one other are parents, right?
All of my siblings are parents except for Miguel and the gay one. The gay ones. Multiple gays.
So both of your sisters
Ashley has all the kids. Anessa
doesn't have kids.
is a gay.
Obvious, man.
As is my brother. I lovingly say that. And Miguel's going to have kids in the near future.
This is getting married.
And my youngest, Mila, is like 11. So leave her alone.
Her voice.
Oh, Bruce says that people look at themselves with their intentions. People look at others by observing their actions. That is incredibly profound, Bruce. Not even bullshitting. That made me pause for a little bit. That is a good bit of wisdom from Bruce from Oregon. Let us move on to another case.
Oregon
All right.
is one of my favorite states.
Oregon?
The Pacific Northwest, actually.
Do you want me to buy you a plane ticket, or
That would actually be so
is there a reason why you wanted to bring that up on
because
the...
you said from Oregon.
Okay. So this person is 45. Oh, this is the sexual assault one. This is going to be a good one.
Trigger.
What happened, Dominic?
Oh, just say and say.
Oh,
Oh yeah, that's right. Trigger.
the
Trigger
algorithm.
warning.
Okay. So this person, 45, had a double mastectomy due to breast cancer. 2 months later, my husband, 45, demands we have sex because it's been too long.
Oh my god. Men. Hombres.
Hey,
Men.
not all men are like that, man. You know,
Reddit is giving me another point of view.
there are men like that, but there are also men that are not like that. You know, you can't. Dominic, don't be like that, man. Don't be an asshole.
Okay, so that happened.
There's so many directions I could go right now. I've got to make a mature decision. He basically
A mature decision. What do you make two? Make it immature and a mature.
you're
one.
making me think of immature stuff. You, Melissa.
¿Qué te parece?
Okay. So he basically issued an ultimatum. So I finally agreed, but I asked him to not touch my chest. Well, that's cool. You just flip her over and, prison style.
Nobody said that or mentioned that.
What's the big deal?
Keep going.
She says that's her request. Like, how is that a hard request? I had
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
all right. So Jesus Christ. All right. So I finally agreed. I had tissue expanders and everything. The whiskey has taken hold of me.
Yes, it is.
It is getting me.
Actually, at this point, it is.
I'm a little bit lubricated right now. That Redbreast 12 is some good whiskey, man. Hey, it's really affordable too. Go check it out. Redbreast 12. I didn't know it was a 12. I would typically start at a 15, but it's 12. It's pretty good.
That's what I was gonna say.
Notes of vanilla and super mellow.
Generally 15 to 18.
Yeah, I usually, if I get a 12, it's on accident or it was a gift. Anyway, so I had tissue expanders in, and everything there was extremely sore. He agreed, but in the middle of sex, he started grabbing my chest. It hurt. I begged him to stop. He didn't listen to me. He just kept going. Oh, shit. I've been trying to forgive and forget and move past it, but I can't. I told him I want a divorce and applied for an apartment. He tells me I'm being dramatic and that he didn't cause any permanent damage. Not permanent damage. He caused some kind of damage. I don't think I can ever trust him again. My family's telling me I'm overreacting, that men have needs. No, fuck all of that.
Okay, no. Stop it.
That's the only reason I'm here. They're telling me that expecting my husband to honor that boundary was unreal. No, it isn't.
No, it's not unreal. Your family are assholes.
Look, man, there's
This just sounds like old grandmas would tell you to put makeup on and do your hair and everything at two days postpartum because your husband is going to go away. He's going to go see somebody else because you look unput for him.
A man's needs should not supersede a woman's need for safety. A man's needs should not supersede a woman's request to not touch her chest. A woman's need should not require of a woman involuntary pain. And the fact that they're in the middle of the act and he just, after clearly knowing the ground rules, decided to forego that for his own moment of ecstasy, I guess, is bullshit.
Let's put it, I don't want to say this, but I'm just going to say it. Let's put it to the point where maybe it slipped her mind. As soon as she said that it hurt, he should have stopped.
Without question. It's not an effing game. Like your wife is in pain.
And she...
Your instinct should be to leave her alone. You know? She's got medical issues that he can't possibly fathom.
First of all, he should not even be forcing her to have sex. She got a double mastectomy.
Which she's probably got like... She's probably embarrassed about it. She probably doesn't feel very confident about it.
That's one. That's two.
Maybe she said it's painful.
That's three.
I don't know what tissue expanders are, but I imagine it's like some kind of cosmetic thing.
No.
What is it then?
Okay, from my understanding, I don't know how big her breasts are, but if you get a mastectomy,
they're probably small because they're gone. Obviously.
I'm not going to elaborate on that, but I'm just going to continue with my idea. My thought is the skin, maybe it's sagged. So maybe there's something in there to like.
Just leave him alone, man. Like, how hard is it to just flip her over and just, you know, if you must, and she's being...
I think apparently he doesn't get the idea, but anyway.
I don't know. If I'll just blankly say this. If anything, if a man was married to any of my daughters and for his own selfish reasons, chose to ignore her need for safety and for not wanting to feel pain for his own selfish pleasures, then he's not the man for my daughters to begin with. And if my daughter ever told me something like that, we'd have a whole different conversation about, we'd have to round up the crew. We'd have to have a whole different conversation. We get him here and we would, among drinks, have a discussion about what the F he did amongst men. That's how we settle it. If your husband did something like that to you, how would it make you feel, for one?
Very bad.
There's one thing my wife always tells me. She always tells me that she feels safe with me. That means something to me. She feels safe in my arms. She knows that I'm never going to hurt her. The idea that I would ever put her in any amount of pain that she didn't ask for my own selfish pleasures is just not in my DNA, nor is it in most men's DNA. Dominic, what about you, man?
No.
Would you be the just flip her over thing?
You're not going to stop.
Don't touch my chest. Okay. Flip. Deal.
I mean, it was not a difficult request, to be honest with you.
It really wasn't. It really wasn't. If that's all it was, what you got to, you have needs, fine. Bend her over and handle it, I guess.
He could have also handled his sneeze in another way, but That's a whole different conversation.
Whatever, man. But if she was willing to like, just don't touch my chest, and he couldn't even follow that simple instruction. The guy's a piece of shit.
He is. Has he even apologized? Did she mention it?
Well, this is not, she didn't answer those questions or talk about that. But the people around her are
pieces of shit.
Yeah, I don't agree with their take. There's no scenario where a man should feel justified in violating his wife's trust in that way after she acquiesced to a request that didn't benefit her, was only for him, and he took advantage of her anyway. That's a piece of shit. Honestly, that's probably a criminal act. Maybe not, well, it is. By the letter of the law, it is a criminal act. Whether or not it be prosecuted as a criminal act is a whole different discussion. Because it's a sexual act involving marital partners. There's been a long history, hundreds of years of case law, where courts have refused to prosecute sexual assaults amongst married couples. And I promise you, even though to the letter of the law, this was a sexual assault, it would never be prosecuted that way. It just wouldn't. And so there's many reasons for that we don't got time to discuss. All I'm going to say is if she wants a divorce for these reasons, I'm on board. Get a divorce. They don't got kids. She doesn't deserve that. Does she think it's going to get any better? He's 45. He's 45. It sounds to me like she wants to take a break from sex. It sounds to me like she wants to rediscover her confidence without having to deal with another man's needs. Maybe it's best for her to just focus on her and go her separate ways for the quality of her life. And F that guy. Seriously. F that guy. I don't know. Garlic Man says you never really know a woman until you meet her in divorce court. Well, you never know her ugly side, for sure.
He has a point.
Anyway. Pro says, oh, hell no, it's not going to get better. Yeah, at 45, it typically gets worse. Anyway, let's move on to another case. We got a couple more. We're going to wrap. How long have we been going? 57 minutes. We're making good time. Okay, so this person wants to know. Let me pull it up on screen. Am I the asshole for telling my sister she needs to get her house cleaned up before she gives birth, or the family will go for custody? Oh, get me started on this one.
Yes, you're the asshole.
You don't even know the facts yet.
I don't need to. You're not going to make demands in somebody else's fucking house. Period.
What if they're a hoarder?
I don't give a shit. It's her house. I'm sorry. I am really
You
sorry.
just calm your ass down there, young lady. You don't know. Okay, let's just get into let us get into the facts.
Let's see if it's actually her house.
Okay, let's see what's going on. I'm a 32-year-old female married to a 37-year-old male. My sister is 28, married to a 29-year-old. My parents are in their late 50s. Brother is 30, married to 26. Thank you for the archaeological breakdown.
The statement of the facts.
Yeah, my sister is currently pregnant with her first child.
Okay.
The problem is she currently lives in a house with 4 dogs, 3 big dogs and 1 small, all shed a lot, 6 cats and 3 ducks. Yes, in the house. That's honestly not that bad. If you have, there's some families in the Midwest that it was just like that. It's just a way of life for some people. Her house smells absolutely disgusting. To you, it smells disgusting. I cannot go in there without wanting to barf. It's not your effing house.
You see?
Okay, I see your point. I was giving her the benefit of the doubt. Pardon me for wanting to know the facts. Yeah, so there is also laundry and junk everywhere. There's no clean place to sit or walk. The floor is sticky. There are bugs. It's so gross. She and her husband just got this house last year. I don't know how she made it this gross this quickly. Before this, they lived with her husband's mom. I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I promise you she's not. But I really cannot describe how absolutely disgusting this house is right now. Disgusting is subjective. Let me tell you a story about my grandmother. We used to, in the 80s, go like for family dinners on like weeknights to the Sizzler. It was a big deal to go to the Sizzler back in the 80s, like the all-you-can-eat shrimp and all of that. But it was like buffet style. They had a salad bar. You would order stuff. Every single time we went to the Sizzler, she's like, you know what? I want to speak to the manager. This plate is just disgusting. You see this glass? You see these spots? You see these spots? My grandma was like one of those. She's one of those every single effing time. Yeah. And it was like, Grandma, it's okay. No, this is bullshit. I need to speak to the manager right now. I want it taken off my bill.
Did she use the word bullshit?
100% she did. 100%.
Okay, I see where it came from.
She 100% did. But it was just, it was
It was a thing.
Yeah. Now she made a big deal about it. She had very strong opinions about it, but for most people, it was fine. She doesn't get to be the sole authority on what cleanliness should be and represents and how it's defined. So, this lady needs to calm the F down, as you would say. What I would tell her. So she's only 12-ish weeks pregnant, so she has time to get it fixed before the. You know what, lady? Who is related? What is her relation to this family?
It's the sister.
Sister-in-law. Sister-in-law to who?
Sister.
Oh,
Sister to the bride?
She's sister to the pregnant woman. Yeah.
Let me give you a hypothetical. My wife's sister works for CPS. I give her shit about it all the time. It's like, you guys are effing worthless. What do you guys even do? Like, you guys screw all these. Every time she comes over during the holidays, I give her shit about working for CPS
all the time. So,
and then she would never ever do this. Never ever do this, because oftentimes our house, because we have a 4 and a 5-year-old running around terrorizing everything. We even got cleaners that come over. Mm-hmm. They come over, and then like an hour later, the house looks like shit again. It's just destroyed. It's just how it goes. Like, they have their whole toy area, and they'll break out a box. Dad, I want to play with my toys. And before I say, hey, wait a minute, they'll grab the box and just empty it out onto the floor. Yes. Whoosh, everything, Play-Doh, flour, literally flour, the powder, flour.
How did they reach that?
They got, it's like fake powder. What is it, like the sand, kinetic sand or whatever?
Oh, okay.
But one time I let them, we were cooking together, and then they just like, oh, it's snowing.
You see why I can't have kids? You see half of me would spread the flour, also the other half would get so upset because I have to.
It's like, oh, you little shits. Oh, anyway. So if my sister-in-law were to say that, you know what, I'm taking custody of the kids because this house is a mess, she would never do that. I just says, you need to calm your ass down with all of that. What are you talking about? First of all, we would just have a whole conversation. Me with which I would never have to do. And my sister-in-law is wonderful. I just could not imagine a scenario where she's like so harping on her sister's cleanliness habits, where she feels the need to interject to the level of asking for full custody of the children, which, by the way, is not grounds to get full custody of anybody.
I don't know if she's doing that.
She did. She literally said, am I the asshole for telling my sister she needs to get her house cleaned up before she gives birth, or I will go for custody?
Oh, I did not.
She wants custody of the kids. Get the F out of here.
No, Omar. She can't have kids. She wants to take her sister child. She's just looking for a reason.
Well,
that's the feeling I'm getting. Why the fuck would you even care?
Well, she does. And so she wants to know if she's the asshole. I think she is. She says she's not perfect. Her sister's 12 weeks pregnant. So just beyond the danger stage of miscarriage. So anyway, yesterday my parents went to her house. They live about an hour and a half away, so they don't visit often. And they got into an argument with my sister about her house. My dad basically gave her an ultimatum to get the house cleaned, or they will call child welfare when the baby is born and go for custody. What would you do in that scenario?
I would cut them off.
If your in-law came to your house and said, you either clean this place up or I'm calling CPS.
I would cut them off.
All right. What if your husband says, no, you're overreacting, calm down, like 1910s.
Well, guess what? I am the pregnant person here. You don't have a say. Literally.
Women gotta stop saying shit like that. You can't just tell your husband he doesn't have a say. That's going to appeal to his ego, and y'all are gonna have problems. You can't talk to him like that. You just cannot. I'm not saying you can't say that. I'm just saying don't expect to say something like that.
Until that child is born, it's my fucking body. It's my body who's being trashed, destroyed. My hormones are getting shitty. So yeah, he doesn't have a say. I'm the one who's getting bald. I'm the one whose teeth are getting crooked, and I could just keep fucking going.
Your teeth is getting crooked?
That's one of the side effects of pregnancy, unfortunately.
Teddy, good luck, man.
No, I've told him a million times that. He's really, really, really aware of it. He's really, every single time he pops something, I'm like, excuse me, you're not the one who's going to have his fucking body and little butterfly destroyed by
I'd be like,
child.
all right, I don't get to have a say. You're changing all the diapers. You're changing all the diapers.
That's not how it works.
That's how it works in my house.
I mean, but I wouldn't even care about the diapers, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. Women are just into that. Not that they're into it, but they're like, they got like this motherly, there's definitely, I'm not going to get into
I wouldn't give any shit about the diapers. About the feeding in the middle of the night, though, yeah.
Oh, you all got a tag team on that, man. You have to. Even if,
No,
like,
you really have to, Omar. It's beneficial for everybody.
yeah, because your wife needs to sleep.
That's one.
The guy needs to sleep.
Two.
You're gonna end up with a pump, like pump the milk out or whatever.
Yeah,
you can still give it
have to.
Yeah, the breastfeeding thing's not even an excuse. Just get your ass up at 3 a.m, take shifts. Like when my wife and I used to do it, like they go to bed like at 7, and then they get fed again like at 9.
Exactly.
She would do it at 9. When they would wake up like at 11 or 12, I would take that shift because I went to bed later. And then
So
when
she
I
could
would go to
sleep.
bed, yeah,
Exactly.
she would wake up like at 2 or 3 when they would wake up again. And then I would wake up around normal time, around 6 or 7. But we'd have like the schedule. Sometimes it
only
worked better than
that-
others, but that was the schedule.
It's not only that. Generally, when men, and I'm not going to say it's only men at this point, I am going to take one for you guys. Many women are
Well, thank you for that.
Are coached and like forced that you're the only one who could like breastfeed and feed them at this point of your life. Like, don't let anybody do it. There's a lot of women that are coached to that, and that's detrimental. But if you do take that role 100%, let's say you breastfeed for 8 months, let's say. The baby's going to be a fucking stranger to its dad.
No,
be
they
honest
will
with you.
not. What are you talking about? Why? Because they don't breastfeed?
No, because Omar, you know how many? Well, for example, my dad never gave me a bottle, and he never changed my diaper
And you were
ever.
a stranger to him?
When I was young. Yeah,
He was a stranger to you?
I mean, when you're growing old, when you're growing,
What are
you're
you
a little
doing in between
baby.
when you're not like feeding and changing diapers?
Tell me, you a newborn? What is he doing? Nothing, sleeping.
No, like wrestling. We're like playing video games. We're like hanging out. We're going in the grass. We're
A
like doing other
newborn?
stuff. Yeah.
A newborn?
Newborns sit right with me.
Newborns?
We watch movies together. They're always in your arms. Always. Like breastfeeding.
Okay, vast majority of the dads don't do that you're saying. I do understand where it's coming from, and it should be normal this way, but a lot of dads don't do it.
Well, I think that's a mistake. For
And
one.
besides, newborns sleep a lot.
Yeah, they sleep, which is why it's not that big of a deal for you to hold them while you're like watching Scarface or something. Or whatever movie. I don't know.
I'm just saying that you need to be a team on that, so the baby is accustomed to everybody. You get what I'm saying?
No. Yes, I get what you're saying. I
It's
get what
easier.
you're saying.
I mean, it's easy.
All right. I feel, where did I leave off?
Where the in-laws warned her.
Oh, my sister called me upset. I told her I agree with our parents. Her house is disgusting, and I am worried about the welfare of my future niece or nephew in that house. Our brother is in the same boat and will be going with us if she doesn't get it together. There are bugs, for fuck's sake, and animal pee and poop on the floors. If that's true, she may have a point. I doubt, however, it's that bad. If it is that bad, then I'm wrong. But if I suspect that it's not, I feel like they're embellishing and they need to stay out of their business unless the children are actually in danger. She continues, this is a typo. When the child is born, if the house is still discussing what we're going to do, we have to get the baby out of there. I am normally let people do what they kind of do in
No,
person.
you don't.
But that house is a health hazard, and I can't just sit there and let my niece and nephew live like that. I feel awful about it, but I'm with my parents on this particular ultimatum. However, the thought of calling child services on my sister just feels awful. Well, look, if you think that the children are really in danger, call them. And if they find out that you guys are embellishing, then nothing's going to happen. But if they walk into like a health hazard, like you're suggesting, then actions will be taken.
It's going to be an immediate action generally.
My instinct tells me that you are the asshole. But to the extent that you're telling the truth about the conditions of the house, maybe you're not, and maybe you're onto something. Call
Said
CPS
5
and figure it
dogs,
out.
4 big ones, 1 small one, or 4 dogs, 3 big
I
ones.
don't give a shit about the
Dogs
pets.
and cats.
People live on farms. People live in animal infested houses, happily and harmoniously. I got 3 dogs. They're all well trained. They know how to go to the bathroom outside. I don't have 3 dogs. I have 2 dogs, and I'm babysitting my brother's dog. But even that dog has learned like the routine really quickly. It was amazing. But my house doesn't smell like that. You know, all the dogs are trained. I don't know if I threw in a few more cats. I feel like they'd probably figure it out. Even so,
Cats are really clean. They use their little sand thingy.
I've never owned a cat, so I wouldn't know.
They're really clean. They have like that instinct where they do their business in just one place.
Yeah.
And they even like bury their things in the sand. So you just have to change it.
Hey, was my mom in the chat? My mom was in the chat. She said maybe
She
they
is?
should hire someone to clean the house and say it's a gift. That would be something my mom would totally do. My mom would
That
be
is a
like,
very nice gift.
my mom used to do this. And like,
When you had your bachelor pad, let me guess.
yeah, she would come over and clean.
I knew it. She would come over and clean, or she would send somebody.
No, she would just come over and do it herself. My
Son.
mom's very hands-on like that. My mom's an amazing woman. And so I'll tell you what, she would come over and clean up my bachelor pad. Even for my house, my wife, she would come up and like with Raven, go help decorate her room, go clean up her room. She's like a designer like that. And she knows that I'm not like all like, I don't give a shit about that stuff. Just is it clean enough? It's clean enough. But she will go in there and like a busy little bee, clean it up. And you know, completely with it. It's like something she does with my daughter, you know, in a very non-threatening, offensive way. So it's not out of bounds for in-laws to think that. But if they're going to do it in like this weird condescending way where we're going to take custody of your kids, that's where the issue comes.
Actually, I was going to ask that question.
What?
I just see them critiquing and criticizing and saying their thoughts. But I mean, I want to know the backgrounds of this. Like, we don't know if he works really far away. We don't know if she works far away. We don't know if she's alone.
I can tell you
We
this.
don't know if there's...
I would not step in to like a son-in-law situation to litigate issues of their relationship. You know what I mean? To litigate issues of the cleanliness of a house. I don't give a shit, man. It's none of my business. Where the only time I would ever step in is if my daughter was in danger. Any of them. As most men would, right? But some in-laws are they feel the need to ingratiate themselves into the 4 corners of their children's lives. And that's detrimental. So what I would say to this person is, if you really think it's that bad, then call CPS. And then you might have a case, and then they may lose their parental rights if it's as bad as you say.
But if it doesn't work out and nothing happens, your sister is going to hate you for
If it doesn't work out and the allegations are unfounded, then you need to STFU and mind your own damn business, because it's probably not as bad as you. How many times have you had cases where clients come in saying that it's like, oh, it's like a Sodom and Gomorrah over there, and then CPS goes and investigates. Oh, it's fine. It's like a 3-bedroom, 2 stories, clean house.
I'm a
food in the
sociologist.
cabinets.
So I had a class called Child Neglect and Abuse. It was given by social workers. And I still remember this case. One of my teachers told, she was like, oh, this woman would call 2 to 3 times a week complaining about her freaking neighbor. And it was because she gave white bread instead of whole wheat to the kids.
Yeah, people have just weird proclivities. They have these weird hangups. And, you know, I'm going to move on to a different case. I'm done with
So
call
yeah,
CPS now.
you're the asshole. Get the F out. Stop worrying about it.
It feels like you're the asshole. And maybe you're not. So call CPS and let them
Feels like
litigate
you're
it.
very frustrated with your life. You should really find a hobby or get a job, or maybe you have a lot of time in your mind.
Here's one more. This one in trigger alerts. Somebody said I should start using trigger alerts.
Trigger warning.
This one involves abuse. This is going to be our last hypothetical for this week's episode. This person wants to know if they're the asshole for suing their ex for full custody after he allowed his uncle to be around our daughter. I know where she's going with this, so let's get into it. My ex and I have been separated for a little over a year, so it's still fresh. We have a 4-year-old daughter who we share custody of. Our relationship has had its ups and downs, and we didn't part on friendly terms. Our relationship has gotten better now, and we sometimes talk about things other than our child. Our custody agreement dictates that she spends 1 week with me and 1 week with her father. Oh, are you detecting what I'm detecting? What?
Keep going.
No, I want to know if you're just shaking your head to shake your head.
Keep going, please.
I'm detecting that she's still in love with her ex.
To a certain point, yes.
All right. When I picked her up on Sunday, my ex and I had coffee and chatted while we packed up her things.
The fuck?
Could I read that again? When I picked her up on Sunday, my ex and I had coffee and chatted while we packed. You know how many times, you know how many words I've spoken to my ex since we separated?
I don't know.
A handful.
Well, for necessary things, of course.
Literally.
That's Raven.
Yes. When she would text me stuff, I would either not respond at all or one word answers. You don't. And anyway.
You see, say it. You do not have any business with your ex.
Nor would I want to have any business with my ex, nor is it any of my business what she's doing. I just don't give a shit.
I hope my husband is listening to this because he thinks I'm really, really paranoid and overreacting when I say that you're not supposed to do that. He thinks like, well, you're too dramatic.
No.
There's nothing wrong with like getting along and being friends. I'm like,
yeah, there is.
Yeah, there is.
Especially if y'all don't have kids.
If you have kids, that's a different thing. You have to be cordial and you have to get along. Yeah, I understand that. But if you don't, what the fuck?
If you're talking to ex and y'all don't have any kids, there's no reason for y'all to be talking.
Exactly. That's my
none.
You don't have to be rude or anything, but no, there's nothing.
What the fuck?
No, really. That's my way of thinking.
There's no reason for a person that has an ex, if you don't have kids, to have continued communication, especially if you're like married to somebody else. None.
That's one. Yeah, that's true.
Or in a relationship.
Mhm.
Unless you're trying to like, I don't know, stir the embers of what it was a failed relationship as an insurance policy. What are you doing?
Insurance policy. Okay.
Jesus.
Okay, so they had coffee. He didn't mention he wasn't in a relationship, so we don't know.
Had coffee. When she came out of her room, I asked her if she had a good week and what they did. She told me that Grandpa visited. I had to really restrain myself from attacking my ex right in his kitchen, and he knew that. I know he was feeling guilty about it because he wouldn't look me in the eyes and tried to subtly get us to leave, which we did immediately. Whether he was feeling guilty for what he did or for getting caught, I don't know. My ex's father is dead. He was raised by his very abusive in every possible way uncle. I met his uncle once or twice, and that man is not somebody I would ever allow around my child. I made that clear to my ex, who for some unbelievable reason still has a close relationship to his uncle. While we were still together, our daughter never met him. When we broke up, I made my ex promise to me that he would keep our daughter away from this man. I had a long talk with my daughter. I didn't tell her anything, but I made sure she was fine and that nothing bad had happened. After I put her to bed, I called my ex. Before I could say anything, he tried to defend himself by saying how he had been there the whole time and that his uncle was basically his father, so he should be allowed to introduce him to his daughter.
No.
He also mentioned that since she's a girl, we don't have to worry about anything. Anyway, what the F does that mean?
That means he used to say boys. That's it.
So his uncle is gay
Maybe.
for gay boys.
Yeah.
for
Could be.
boys that are
Yeah, could be.
not attracted to. That's what he assumes. It's what he assumes. But what I know, having been around SAist of children, is that it very seldom has anything to do with gender.
Yes, that's true.
Most of the time, it has to do with control, irrespective of gender. So before I could say anything, trying to, okay, absolutely lost it and screamed at him until he hung up. Justified, I guess. On Monday, I told my sister, who told me to get full custody and gave me the number of a lawyer. I talked to the lawyer, and he thinks if I can prove that he knowingly allowed our daughter to be around someone who could be a threat to her well-being, I shouldn't have a problem getting full custody. To that lawyer, I would say I wouldn't be as optimistic as him, because it's not just about identifying a potential threat. You have to show evidence that it's an actual threat. Without evidence of showing that it's an actual threat, you can't expect a judge to make a stay away order of grandfather on the basis of he used to do this back then. That's propensity evidence. Very seldom does it have any effect on judges. If you can't say that, oh, look, I was there and he snapped at my kid, or saw him touching on appropriately, or this has been a thing, some kind of tangible evidence, you're basing this on pure conjecture, and you can't expect that you're going to be successful in court. For some judges, maybe, but for most judges, you're going to need a little bit more than pure speculation and conjecture. I think I still have messages of when my ex told me about some of the things his uncle did to him. And even though I feel bad about using his trust in me against him, I won't let the same things happen to my child. Now, the evidence is pretty simple. All he has to do is prove he's a registered sex offender or something. If he was convicted of a crime that caused him to be on the sex offender registry list,
That's just it.
easy.
Yes.
That's almost like no questions asked.
Yeah.
Keep him away from sex offenders. Dick, obviously. But if it's just like, oh, he has stories about he molested my ex when he was years ago when he was a child, and I don't want him to do the same thing to my daughter, that's going to be a harder case to prove. Not to say that you don't have a case, it's just you should be aware that you need better evidence than that. You could possibly prevail if that's all you have, but you're going to want better evidence, is all I'm saying. So this afternoon, my ex called me again. He sounded like he'd been crying. Did I skip something?
Are you laughing?
Why are you laughing? What did...
Screaming instead of screaming.
Oh, all right. All right. So this afternoon, my ex called me again. He sounded like he'd been crying and kept apologizing and begging me not to take his daughter from him. I told him that I'm sorry, but I want to protect my daughter and won't be able to trust him to do the same now. When he realized that he wouldn't change my mind, he called me a bitch and claimed that I was using our daughter to control him. Yeah, that's the standard stupid bullshit that we hear all the time. I feel terrible about this. I still care about him and don't want to hurt him, but I couldn't live with myself if I let anything happen to my child. I'm on your side on this. And I'm going to say further, if the guy is not willing to protect his own child from his abusive father, then perhaps it should call into question his ability to protect that child altogether. Perhaps you should have full custody. It's very simple. Get rid of the dad. Get rid of him. There's no reason for him to be in there. If he's truly the monster that she has made him out to be, then the child's father should have no problem discarding him for the sake of keeping custody of the girl. If he's unwilling to do that for whatever reason, what he's actually demonstrating is an inability to keep the child safe. And that should be taken into account when we're deciding what his visitation should be like, because we have to figure out something on a custody and visitation schedule. If something were to happen to that child in the house, CPS would take custody away from him anyway. They would open up a dependency case for his failure to protect his daughter from his obviously abusive father. So no, you're not the asshole. You're not wrong for wanting to get custody of your daughter. And more importantly, what you're really asking for is a simple stay away order from the grandfather, which you shouldn't have any problem getting.
You're not asking for her to be restrained from seeing her dad.
Yeah,
That's
just
not
keep him
even
away.
that's not even in the picture.
But here's how that works. If he lives with his dad,
Yeah, but in this situation, I mean, how do I say this? Little girl said grandpa visited. However, if he's like so concerned and everything, that doesn't mean he visited. That means he's actually living with his father.
Well, she knows who grandpa is. It shouldn't be that hard to keep grandfather away if he doesn't live with them. If he lived with them, that's a different story. So it's a simple RFO. I want an order keeping the grandfather away from my child because he has a known history of sexual abuse of children.
I say,
Simple. I said what I said. And so if he's admitted that in text messages, he's not going to be able to just sit there and deny it in court that this has never been a thing. So she probably already has enough evidence if they've ever discussed this in writing at all whatsoever. So use those as your exhibits A, B, C, and D. State the known and present danger to the child, which is the grandfather, with a history of essaying children. More than likely, you're at the very least going to get a stay away order on the part of grandfather.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario for the dad, he ends up on supervised visitation if the judge thinks that
he's
grandfather is living with the dad and he has no ability to keep the child away. That's it. Any closing thoughts, Melissa?
No.
Dominic, what do you think about all that?
Oh, I know. Yes, I think. That's her rights to believe that.
Well, folks, that's all we have for you on this episode of Family Law After Dark. Thank you all for coming in and listening. I love you all. And we will see you guys next week for shenanigans. Be aware and present on the Discord, on the Patreon. If you haven't already done so, make sure you sign up for YouTube memberships. We have some member exclusive content coming out next week that you're not going to want to miss. Poker nights, whiskey nights, cigar nights, and such. We got a lot of big plans. So if you haven't already done so, there is a link tree in the description showing you where to get all of our exclusive content. And we will see you guys next week. Have a wonderful weekend. We love you. Bye-bye.